So back in the early summer of 2023, I was 15 years old and I wanted to have more testosterone, to be a stronger and just like a higher testosterone, more muscle young man, as you do at 15. And I stumbled across this video that started talking about, oh, you eat more eggs because they have good fats in them and it'll boost your testosterone. You make your hormones out of cholesterol. You shouldn't eat so much sugar and like cereal and shit, and instead just have more eggs, have more steak, have that sort of thing, so you can boost your testosterone. And so I tried that. For the first time in my life, I had just kind of experimented with my diet beyond the fact of like, oh, whatever fits your macros. And I gave it a shot because I wanted to boost my testosterone, feel good, be like, yeah, like high tea. I gave it a shot. And in the following weeks, as I started eating more eggs, lowered my sugar and like carbohydrate intake, I started feeling just more alive, more awake, more of everything, like just more vital. More like my vitality, if it was a stat, just like boosted by like 10x, dude. It was crazy that the difference that I started to feel. Along with the summer, I was also getting kind of tan. I was like, oh yeah, dude. All the everything was like lining up to be really great. Um, but as the winter of 2023 rolled around, I decided like, oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go on a bulk. I'm gonna try and gain a ton of muscle. And so here's what I did. I upped my calorie intake by a bunch. But what I did mostly was I just started eating a lot more carbohydrates again. I was still eating like the same amount of fat, the same amount of protein, but I heard that in order to bulk that you need to have more carbs, more of this and that. So it's like, oh yeah, like I'll have more potatoes and pasta and stuff, and yeah, I'll get big uh. and I just remember, well, to be completely honest, I did like way overestimate my calories, to be completely honest, but that's kind of a side point in this whole story. I just I started getting really fat from the bulk. Like, yeah, I gained a little bit of muscle because I was going to the gym, just not as much as I should have been. And so I just ended up getting like really fat. And the reason for that was one, I just overconsumed food. Like my calorie intake was way too high. And it was also just because I was eating so many carbohydrates. Like I was just stacking on fat. It was crazy, dude. And I just started to feel awful. Like I would look at myself in the mirror and just think like, what have I done to myself? I would see my puffy face, the fat that I had built, not worth the freaking 1 pound of muscle that I had built, that I had gained, compared to like the five, like six, yeah, like the 6 pounds of fat that I gained, maybe eight, I don't know. It was a lot of fat, to be honest. I have the papers up here. Let's see, actually. It was 8 pounds of fat, dude. It's crazy. I gained 8 pounds of fat in like 3 months, bro. And like I said, I just remember looking into the mirror and thinking, like, what the hell have I done? It was really sad. And so I kind of went from there on a quest to experiment with my diet some more. Because in the summer, I started feeling a lot better doing a certain thing, lowering the carbohydrates, increasing the fat intake. And so I started experimenting with that again. I started removing the carbohydrates from my life. I went down to like a really, really low carb diet to, I think it was like sub 100 at some points. And I just started feeling better. Like, yeah, I still had the side effects of the bulk previous. Like I was still kind of fat, but my energy started getting better. I started like losing a lot of water weight, and I started just feeling less puffy, a little bit more defined, higher energy. Life started being better. I started like I was less lethargic, less kind of like slow feeling whenever I was exercising, and it made exercising way better. Like it just kind of like jump started things again after going into that slump. I started like, yeah, this is it, bro. This is like, heck yeah. And so that's that's kind of the story. And I just felt so great. And so now I'm to the point to where I'm eating like basically no carbohydrates now. And it has just revolutionized my life from that point. In January of 2024 was whenever I was looking at myself in the mirror. And I look at myself in the mirror now, I'm thinking like, heck yeah, like we're looking pretty good. Like I only lift twice a week now because I've got other goals and stuff. But I'm looking in the mirror now, I'm like, heck yeah, like yeah, it's like it's not that bad, not that bad. And so I'm proud of how far I've come from that point. And so yeah, that's kind of the story of how low carb changed my life. But I just want to talk about a couple more of the specific things that on how low carb has really helped me out. And like I was talking about in the story, I overconsumed a lot, but that doesn't happen anymore. So I don't overeat food anymore. And that was a big issue that I faced. Was I constantly overate food, whether it was fruit, whether it was like potatoes. It was always the carbohydrate rich foods that made me just kind of have this like weird drug like compulsion to continue to have more. And now that I've removed those from my diet, that doesn't happen anymore. I don't have that experience anymore. And it's so liberating to not feel that kind of like drug like compulsion. You know that scene in SpongeBob where I think he was in air, right? And he saw the water bowl. I think you might know what I'm talking about. He was like, I need it. And he's like looking over at the water bottle, kind of like shaking, like, oh, I need the water. I was kind of like that with carbs. And another example, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you think I'm crazy, imagine some drug fiend. So imagine some like crack fiend or like some vape fiend. You probably know what I'm talking about. Some like dude in school who constantly needed to hit his vape, or he would get like start being like itchy and like, can I go to the bathroom? Like that sort of thing. That's kind of how I was with like sugar and stuff. Is like I would eat it and be like, that's good. And then like 5 minutes later, I'd find myself having another hit. And then another 10 minutes later, another hit, right? Like constantly grazing throughout the day of these like little snacks. And that doesn't happen anymore. I don't snack anymore. I eat like 2 meals a day, maybe 3, and then I'm done. Like I don't snack anymore. It's so crazy. And yeah, that's honestly like the biggest thing on how low carb has changed my life. It's like I'm not constantly grazing anymore. I'm not like constantly like eating food like a crack addict. So yeah, it's very liberating. The next thing though is the clarity, emotional regulation, and the sleep and recovery that I have now. So sleep and recovery wise, I think I've also been fixing my sleep habits, which probably helped, to be honest, just being fully transparent there. But I've just found like I generally just sleep better because I'm not grazing constantly, because I'm not digesting food all the time. I used to have a really big problem with digestion, and my stomach would be like it would still be working on stuff even if I was done eating a while before. And my stomach would also just hurt in general because it was just not really like digestible material that I was eating. So yeah, I mean, and also pasta, not a good thing on my gut for me personally. So I was just always kind of struggling with digestion, and I think it affected my sleep a lot. But now that I've kind of reduced that, my sleep has gotten a lot better. I still have some experimentation to do with kind of like meal timing and whatnot in terms of sleep, but for the most part, I feel pretty good with what I'm doing now. With my emotional regulation, it's a bit more subtle, but I found that I'm just a little bit more equanimous now, a little bit more chill. I used to have like the highs and lows of my energy and mood were a lot more unstable. And now they're I mean, it's the same thing with my energy. It's just kind of like meh. It's kind of like it's flat. It's not like spiking, going up and down. It's kind of flat, and it goes up and down depending on the day and if I slept well, and if if like my dog's barking or something, like it's kind of like annoying. Why are you barking? I think you get what I mean. It's like my emotional regulation is just a lot stabler. So it's just a lot more level-headed, which I really enjoy. I could also be just because I'm aging, a little bit more mature. I'm 17 now. I'm not 16 anymore, so it's like slightly better. That might be true. But yeah, and my mental clarity has also really improved. I used to get really mad brain fog, like crazy brain fog, whenever I would eat carbohydrates. And especially with the processed carbs, I get really bad brain fog. But even with like the so-called clean carbs, I would still feel kind of stupid after eating them. And so it's just like, why? Like I just don't want to have that anymore. And so I'm glad that has gone away, and I have the mental sharpness now to like speak to you for I don't know how long this video is, like 15 minutes or so, and like have conscious thought, not being like wait, what did I just say? That legit used to be a problem where I would be speaking for, I don't know, like 10 minutes or so, and I just completely forgot what I said at the beginning. And I still have that sometimes. Like I don't remember everything I said, but I think you get what I mean. It's like I understand my train of thought now. It's like my mental clarity is just much better. And for all of those reasons, I find that I am a better athlete. And that is another way that has changed my life. It's just I kind of identify as an athlete. Being athletic, physical movement is kind of just, it's a part of my identity. And I really enjoy that I'm able to do that better with the diet that I'm on. And so, yeah, that's another way that's kind of revolutionized my life. It's just I feel better, and so feel good, play good, if that makes sense. And the final thing on how low carb has changed my life is it has really increased my awareness of what the foods that I consume do to my body. And this is the kind of the take-home message that I want you to really think about is what foods that you eat, what do they do to you, right? The foods that you eat, what effects do they have on you? Do they make you feel sleepy, tired, more hungry? Do they give you like the drug-like compulsion that I was talking about earlier? Like the freaking drug addict to have more? Is that what the food is causing you to have? Or is it making you feel, relaxed, satiated, and energized the next day? Which is it? And that's a question that I want you to answer for yourself. But what I found in my own life is that by removing the carbohydrates specifically, and also some plants and stuff, I've just found that I've experienced the more positive things from the food that I eat. And I haven't been listening to really any other rhetoric. I've just been listening to how my body's been reacting. Okay, and yes, I do like consume information on, this thing and that thing, but that's in order to experiment. And by experimenting, I found that this works. So if you experiment and you find low carb doesn't work for you, and you're like, you're full of shit, Keegan, like, okay, fine. If you genuinely actually tried it, okay. It's what I would encourage above everything else is just self-experimentation, and just be aware of the foods that you're putting in your body, everything that you're putting in your body, and don't knock it before you try it, basically. So that's how low carb has changed my life. I would really encourage you to experiment with it, try it for yourself, and that sort of thing. So if you want to support me, then go check out the links in the description and or subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.